everyone, and thank you all again for joining us for this webinar. My name is Holly Bignell with Line Zero, Workplace from Facebook partner, and I'm going to be your in-session co-organizer for today. I would like to welcome you to this session entitled Managing Remote Work During COVID-19 and After. Now, really, the aim of this webinar is to share stories to help you feel inspired and spark new ideas. So let's jump right into the webinar. For today's session, let's first just take a quick look at the agenda. So first we'll go through some introductions. So who is Workplace from Facebook and who is Line Zero? We'll discuss Workplace as your communication platform and really show you how that looks and feels from an end user perspective. We'll discuss audio conferencing capabilities and mass communications. And we will also look at the Knowledge Library, which is a new feature that's launched by Workplace. We'll take a look at training and onboarding plan, and then really dive into engagement. So how to keep your team engaged and engagement opportunities that exist on Workplace. We'll discuss the topic of health and wellness, which is a huge topic during this time. And then we'll move right into next steps and the Q&A portion of this webinar. So before we do get started, I would like to point out to you that if you have a question or two throughout the session, please do use the chat function on the platform. I'll be monitoring the chat window throughout the presentation, and I'll be happy to read out those questions at the end of the webinar. So please don't be shy. Feel free to ask as many questions as you need to. So we have a lot of great content for you, and it's my privilege to hand it over to the speakers who will introduce themselves and take us through it all. And with that, I'll welcome Jonathan Lee and Victoria. Take it away, guys.
Hey, Holly, thanks for the intro. Hey, everyone, my name is Jonathan Lee. I'm a strategic partner manager here with Workplace from Facebook. And in terms of my role here, work with a variety of partners all across the life cycle. And really helping them bring what we think is a fantastic product in Workplace to the market. Victoria?
And hi, everybody. My name is Victoria. I'm actually on the Line Zero Workplace sales team. I've actually been a part of the Workplace partner ecosystem for just under 2 years now. So really helping customers throughout the entire journey of their Workplace evaluation.
Awesome. And so what I would like to do is share with you guys a little bit about the what is Workplace, kind of the mission, our history, and then we'll pass it over to Victoria. In this webinar, we'll just bounce between us over the course of the topics. But what Workplace from Facebook, our mission really is to bring the power of community to everyone at work, right? Giving everyone in the office a voice. And not just folks who are in the physical offices or associated with corporate headquarters, but also employees who we see on the front line, either in manufacturing, logistics, in retail, really this long tail of employees who really haven't had tools or enterprise tools tailored for them. We're really looking forward to bringing a product that gives them a chance to participate and be aligned with the overall mission of the company. And so that's really the mission here, is to bring the power of community to everyone. In terms of history, a brief history lesson of Workplace, the product actually started in 2012, and what it was just a, excuse me, an internal repurposing of the Facebook groups function. And so if you guys are familiar with that, our engineers back in 2012 repurposed it and allowed only employees at the time to join. And they found out that it allowed these engineering teams, which were very agile, autonomous, and independent, a way to stay, maintain all those attributes, but stay connected as to knowing what exactly was going on in other parts of Facebook. And so that really supported, this tool and this use case really supported Facebook's rapid growth during the early 2010s. We shared with some of our our advertising customers in 2015 that we had this amazing tool. They had similar challenges connecting all of their remote offices spread across the globe. And we introduced it as a beta in 2015 and then launched in 2016 to the broader market as Workplace. And so in 3.5 short years, Workplace from Facebook has over 3 million paying users, and over 30,000 organizations today rely on our tool to keep their organization connected. And so that's kind of the what Workplace is and kind of who Workplace is. And I'll pass it over now to Victoria, who I just wanted to highlight Line Zero is one of our most trusted partners behind some of our most successful launches, and kind of what they do and the value that they can bring as you guys are evaluating tools to kind of bring together your organization.
Great, thank you, Jonathan. So Line Zero is a full-service workplace implementation partner and licensed reseller. And what that means, a little bit what Jonathan was saying, is that we help customers with the entire workplace deployment, including the platform configuration, user, admin, executive trainings, communication strategy, technical integrations, custom developments, and any ongoing support.
Awesome. Yeah, so I think overall today, we're really excited to share both from a product feature, what Workplace does, the pain points that it solves, and Line Zero can share kind of what they're seeing in actual customers and actual use cases of how their customers are deriving value from Workplace. And so I think during this time period, as all of us have shifted over to remote work, it's been a big change, right? And I think this is where Workplace really shines because it helps organizations, no matter what the change is, either it's a pandemic or during more normal times, think of M&A, a new brand relaunch, a new leadership team coming in, or a new office expansion. In order to have change, you need two foundational pieces, right? You need your teams to be aligned, and there needs to be action. And so in terms of Workplace, where we fit for the alignment piece is that we're giving a platform for one, giving employees a place to be connected, they're connected to, and a platform for them to talk with each other and not just be talked to, so bi-directional, and then a way for them to actually engage with the content, right? And so when you connect to folks, when you allow them, when they are able to talk to other people and they're able to engage, you're able to stay aligned. And only when you're able to stay aligned are you able to actually drive action and actually move and support that change. And so during this period of COVID, we see Workplace through a variety of these features, which Victoria will share with you soon, of how we are able to deliver these features to help employees everywhere stay connected, to ultimately stay aligned, and to ultimately drive and support changes in organizations.
Exactly. Thank you, Jonathan. And so with the sudden rise of remote working, many people around the world are coming to understand that the connections we make with our colleagues are an important part of our lives. Organizations must take the lead in restoring that sense of care, even when working remote, while sustaining company culture through these difficult circumstances. At the same time, leaders themselves are facing unique operational challenges, and this is where Workplace comes in. So Workplace is a communication tool that connects everyone in your company, as Jonathan was saying, even if they're working remotely or on the front line. It uses familiar features from Facebook, such as groups, chat, video calls, and live video broadcasting to get people talking and working together. So now more than ever, we're seeing the importance of having a reliable communications tool to keep your team connected and engaged. Workplace has actually been our source for constant employee communication here at Line Zero for the past few years, and we're so thankful to have a tool like this within our organization to utilize. Ways that we are seeing other companies connect in Workplace include creating polls or internal contests, launching wellness bots to do daily check-ins with their employees, employee recognition groups or one-on-one recognition, my personal favorite, virtual happy hours, daily team stand-up meetings, which includes topics for work and non-work related items. Yeah, next slide, Jonathan. And people often ask us about the difference between Zoom and other conferencing tools. Since WorkChat is already embedded in the Workplace platform, it allows for a quicker and more convenient way to instantly chat internally, whether audio or visual. Video conferencing, as you know, is an incredible way to manage remote employees and keep teams in sync when it works. But it can also be a frustrating experience, as we also might know. So think about online plugins, last-minute downloads, browser extensions, any required passwords that are last minute. And that's why Workplace is hyper-focused on making video conferencing super simple. All you need to do is open up the workplace chat on a desktop or mobile device, find the group or individual that you want to connect with, and then simply hit the video camera icon. Workplace and work chat are now giving teams an easy way to work together, even when they can't be together. And so mass communications. Think about how you did your last big announcement, like important company news or critical COVID-related updates. Were you able to reach the entire organization? So imagine if you could have communicated to your whole company and known how many people actually saw your message. Mass communications is critical when it comes to connecting with the remote workforce. Workplace makes this company-wide communication easier by getting the right messages to the right people at the right time, and turns those one-way broadcasts that you're probably already used to into a two-way conversation where everybody has a voice. Live video allows you to get the message across the organization to receive that real-time feedback through likes, comments, and reactions, similar to what you would see on the Facebook platform. Other ways we're seeing teams come together and connecting with remote employees include anything from hosting town halls and hosting internal events, broadcasting leadership communications, or any other critical updates that need to be seen throughout the entire organization. And the best part about this feature is that these videos are then auto-saved and archived so you can watch them at any time.
And so I wanted to highlight, thank you, Victoria. I wanted to highlight a new feature that Workplace was super excited to launch just last week. And it's a feature called Knowledge Library, right? And this allowed the first time actually within Workplace for Workplace to bring together both static and dynamic content together. And we knew historically Workplace was fantastic for dynamic content that moved or changed relatively quickly. New branding guidelines, the newest update from the sales team, leadership or town halls or weekly town halls. That's content that we found that we categorize as dynamic. Workplace was naturally suited and a great channel to disseminate that information. We also knew that a lot of customers have made a lot of investments into SharePoint or their own corporate wikis and had some of their static content. And now we're really excited to kind of bring those two different types of information together in Workplace. And so wanted to highlight kind of where we see the sweet spots are for both of these for two different personas. The first one is if your organization is a little bit earlier or relatively smaller or really tight with the IT resources and not able to make investments into SharePoint or a full featured content or wiki. Knowledge Library is a very easy way to kind of create and start that knowledge depository inside of Workplace, right? So you don't need to ask IT for resources in terms of managing. Everything is very intuitive. Everything can be built and stay within Workplace. So we think that's great for the first kind of segment for companies who don't necessarily have those static repositories yet. The second persona actually is for if your organization is larger and more mature and you have those static content management systems already. And this is a great, Knowledge Library is a great way to extend and increase the return on those existing investments. And what we really see useful and used there is there's no issue with getting an intranet or pointing a desk employee towards your intranet or your wiki or your SharePoint. The challenge is when you're having the frontline employees, again, employees that typically have not been well served by traditional enterprise IT tools. How do they have access and get access to those? They're not behind a computer. They typically are not issued company hardware. They sometimes often don't even have email addresses, right? How do we get information to those types of employees? Knowledge Library is a great way to extend, and you can just point links. So you can create new content in Knowledge Library, or you can just point links into where the existing content is to kind of bring and bridge that information over to employees. Again, we're really excited for this tool. It kind of brings companies together. It fosters community. And in terms of kind of where it fits, now everything is in one easy to use location, right? We have the real-time communication that Victoria shared, both chat and lightweight audio conferencing and video. You had the async communication through groups, which Workplace obviously excelled at. Now we bring in the static content so that smaller organizations or large organizations who want to democratize information across all their employees, now everything comes together in both all dynamic and static content comes together in one easy to use interface. And again, because it's Workplace designed for a mobile first and very mobile friendly experience, right? And so just wanted to share kind of a quick demo as to kind of how this looks like. You can see this, everything is integrated. There are no switching costs in terms of using different systems, punching out, going from let's say one chat into something like SharePoint. Very intuitive, very easy, very user-friendly for admins to kind of administer. You can engage with it like standard Facebook. And very importantly, you can also see all of the usage statistics as well, right? So you know how content is landing. Again, that sort of fidelity, that sort of signal, not really present when we use traditional, very old school communication channels such as email. And so wanted to shift over now, moving a little bit away from the product and kind of all the core features over into how these will actually could potentially look like in your organization. Victoria?
Great, thank you. So because of the sudden shift that we're seeing of remote working, what we're seeing now is HR and management teams having an especially hard time getting new hires onboarded. And this is where the power of Workplace comes in again to play, right? So Workplace allows you to personally engage with new hires during the pre-onboarding process to create an exceptional experience from day one, but also reduce the ramp cycle time by doing things such as building new hire communities, providing resources all in one place for them to access, similar to Knowledge Library, which Jonathan was just sharing, and delivering a structured 30, 60, 90-day onboarding plan using Workplace groups. And here's one of my personal favorites. So Workplace and what I love about it is how it engages you with your team, no matter where you are in the world. So right now we're seeing a huge spike in gratitude and recognition with members sharing their own personal and remote working home experiences. Some examples we are seeing with this is employees giving shout out to the frontline heroes from either within their own company or their loved ones. Leaders encouraging their employees to share funny or uplifting stories from home and to highlight and recognize their teammates for doing a job well done. We have one customer that created a TikTok Tuesday group, which is now one of their highest engaged groups. Everyone's sharing their funny videos. People are loving it, and it's really bringing more team morale to the table. We're seeing some home office photo sharing and best practice sharing. It's encouraging to see the creativity that people do have when they start to create their own home office space. So these are the type of examples that we are seeing as far as the engagement side with the remote employees.
And I'd like to share another anecdote from customers that we've seen. And so using traditional tools, you'll see, okay, Victoria or Eduardo, they work in marketing. And they're this title. They've been at this company for this many years. We all know those aspects of our colleagues, right? But we've seen when Workplace was launched, the CFO actually said, wow, for the first time, someone said about their CFO, I knew about their school, their career experience, all that. But for the first time, I knew that he joined the rock climbing affinity group, right? For the first time, I knew that he had his daughter was going to be in third grade, and so the ability for Workplace to kind of bring that personal connection into the workplace. And having folks engage each other beyond just the kind of professional level, that's something that has really developed and accelerated, especially as we shifted all into kind of remote work.
Exactly, and especially because, I mean, most of us spend our time with our work employees and we are their own family, maybe not right now, but so it's great to see all those communities come together on a platform that everybody knows and loves. So health and wellness. As somebody who's been working 100% remote for about a year now, health and wellness is crucial to maintaining balance in your life. I love seeing my team and other organizations promoting well-being and encouraging each other to share what is keeping them sane right now during these times. And some examples that we are seeing across the board is Workout Tuesday. So people are sharing their workout routines with each other and even doing team live workouts during the day, which is great to get outside, get some exercise. Wellness Wednesday, people are sharing either cooking recipes, new books to read, meditation techniques, just to name a few. We're also seeing a spike in mental health groups being created internally. Employees are using this to provide support and positivity to each other and just keep the spirits rise.
Thanks, Victoria. One particularly fun example here that we'd like to share is this was a customer, a frontline or first responder customer based out of Asia Pacific. And for this customer, their employees were on the front lines. And we all know in terms of protecting ourselves, making sure everyone is safe, they need to wear masks out when they're working with their local constituents, right? And so for the masks, and a lot of these employees had facial hair, it was a policy update from their chief that said, hey, everybody, we need to shave to maintain the efficacy of these N95 masks. What typically could be just a very humdrum, a boring kind of policy change or email, and everybody kind of follows it without knowing how it's landing beyond their own teams or their partners. They actually turn this into a very, very fun and engaging exercise. So this whole team, they send before and after. I would say this organization sent before and after photos of their employees who had to shave their facial hair, and just became a little fun competition, right? My favorite particulars is one on the bottom where miraculously turned into George Clooney. But this is a great way that workplace, a very unique way that we're able to provide a very important business and policy update and a business result in terms of following to public health standards and safety, leveraged in a very fun way that we think and firmly believe that only workplace can deliver, right? You're not going to get this sort of engagement. You're not going to get other tools can do certain things very well. Having a way for folks to build community, to engage, to stay connected, those are the superpowers of workplace.
Exactly.
And so we're super glad to be able to kind of share about the product, some of the features that we think enable remote work during this time and also afterwards. Here are some next steps that Victoria will walk through in terms of if you guys are interested in learning more to either explore workplace and how it fits, or even to expand workplace if you already have it, some of the options that are available through Line Zero.
Exactly. So if you are in those beginning, more exploratory phases of workplace and just really trying to figure out the platform and how it would fit into your organization, I'd be more than happy to set up a call with you and your team to walk you through a live demo, a more tailored demo of workplace. I can share some relevant use cases specific to your industry and then answer any other questions that you might have.
And for those who already have workplace, there's also some general advisory and support services that Line Zero offers. Again, they're behind some of our most successful launches here in North America, a very trusted partner of workplace. And they're very, very well placed with a lot of experience to get you guys up and running through either advisory support services, but also if there's not as much time in your team and organization needs a rapid, kind of a rapid launch or rapid deployment, they offer those services as well.
Perfect, thank you, Jonathan. So now we'll just move into if you don't have workplace and what would that look like in terms of launching workplace. So we do have a 48-hour accelerated workplace from Facebook deployment offer, and this is really for small to mid-sized organizations. What that means is 3,000 employees or less. So basically our team of experts will assist you with technical implementation within that 48-hour window. We'll also look at an accelerated launch strategy and a 25-day post-action plan. Will help you in developing a crisis communication strategy within Workplace and really provide some guidance on the management of that ongoing crisis event with the use of the safety check feature. We'll also look at remote access facilitation. So what does that look like? It's really getting your employees working and secure access to existing company resources very quickly. And lastly, we'll take a look at leading practices for engaging those remote employees, just as we have above, specific to your organization. The next offer or bucket that we have for you is the 7-day accelerated workplace from Facebook deployment. It does have the same deliverables and activities that I've just listed out. However, this is meant for large organizations. Large organizations meaning 3,000 employees plus, and that really is going to happen within that 7-day launch window. So now that we've kind of moved through the offers, we would like to move into the Q&A portion of this session. So as I mentioned earlier, please do feel free to use the chat function in the right top of the window to insert some of your questions, and we're more than happy to answer those for you. So Jonathan and Victoria, we actually already have a question here for you. So you spoke about frontline employees. Can you look at seasonal employees or part-time employees who would need to remove their access later on? What if they don't have a business email? Are they still able to join Workplace?
Sure, I'm happy to cover that. And Victoria, feel free to chime in if I miss anything. But seasonal employee is actually a perfect population or people set for the frontline use case, right? For a few reasons. One is that the training time for Workplace, there really is no product training, right? In terms of launch services, of course, it's helpful to know for corporate employees when to post in certain things, for which things are better fit for intranets or SharePoint or email, and what makes sense to handle in Workplace. But in terms of product training, there is no training with how to take a picture, upload a picture, or make a comment. Those, we joke around at Facebook that Workplace has run the world's largest and most comprehensive enterprise beta test with Facebook Consumer, with over 2.5 billion people using it per month. So it's extremely intuitive for those employees where it may not be justifiable to kind of make standard IT training cost investments if they're only going to be there for a few months. So very, very useful for that. In terms of how we govern access to ones who don't have email addresses, that's not an issue either, right? We can allow them to to claim their accounts via something we call access codes. And what we've seen actually with Line Zero very creatively is that they've kind of tied SMS with these access code technology and either fired off through SMS and text these codes to the employees. And that code is obviously tied to their employment. So they're employed, let's say a seasonal job in the summer. Once their employment terminates, that access code gets terminated as well, and their access gets revoked. So this is actually hugely beneficial. We see when sometimes we'll go into customers, let's use a movie theater as an example. If you go into consumer Facebook and we search for, let's say, AMC Dallas, oftentimes you'll get employees creating their own unauthorized sort of location groups or regional groups where they're talking about company policies, shift swapping, what's been going on. So that kind of hunger for community does exist in employees, and because they weren't able to have tools before, they kind of spawned their own in Facebook Consumer. There's a lot of risk in that. The company doesn't own the data. They don't govern who has access. By shifting that sort of appetite for community, for connectiveness, over into a corporate sanction tool such as Workplace, much more able to better control compliance and governance for that type of people set.
Amazing. Thank you, Jonathan. So we do have another question here that kind of spins off what we've just discussed. So in terms of posting, is there anything set in place where you can flag inappropriate content before it's posted to a timeline, group, etc.?
Yep, I can take this one. So we actually work with customers when we are setting up the platform, depending on what your current corporate policies are. And there are ways to monitor this type of content, images, whether it's profanity or anything that you're looking for specifically, to be alerted to a specific admin to review before it does get posted into a specific group. So the way Workplace works, it's not like Facebook where you'd be posting on your own wall or each other's wall. Everything is done, lives and breathes in the Workplace groups. So it just all depends on how you set that group up, the permissions, to be able to either, well, one, you can use a third-party partner such as Line Zero or any of the other platform partners to go ahead and set that up as a third-party software, or you can set those permissions up in the groups itself. So there's absolutely a way to monitor.
Yeah, that's a great way to highlight the difference between the consumer side and Workplace. And I'd also like to use this question to kind of share that Workplace is the big thing for Workplace is that the customer, at the end of the day, the customer owns the data, right? Workplace has no idea what's being discussed there. Line Zero has no idea what's being discussed there. Workplace is just a data processor. We just run the logic and the code, but the customer is responsible for all of the content. So even for groups, what we have, the variety of groups that Victoria has described, there are public ones, there are ones that are moderated, and you kind of need the moderators to approve. We have a user designation called admins, and they're like the super users of Workplace. And even if a group is marked as private between just one-on-one, two people, admins are still actually able to go in. This is, after all, an employer-sponsored tool. They're still able to go in and see what's been discussed, right? So a lot of power, but it is the company's responsibility to make sure everything that on the platform is within company policy. And so we have a lot of the features baked in, a lot of the permissions baked in to support those type of enterprise requirements.
Amazing. Thank you, Jonathan and Victoria. So we do have another question here, and it's highlighting some of the video conferencing apps out there. So what's the difference between Workplace and audio conferencing platforms like Zoom, BlueJeans, etc.?
I'll let Jonathan take this one.
Sure. Yeah, happy to. So I think Victoria painted out very, very nicely early on. This is fully integrated into Workplace, so there's no going out into separate tools. And I think the key difference here is that Workplace calls are built off of the Messenger infrastructure, the Facebook Messenger infrastructure. And what that means is that both sides of the conversation, they need to be Workplace users, right? So as long as you're on Workplace, so this is a good way to talk with fellow colleagues. And also we have something called multi-company where you can talk to from other folks in organizations if your admins allow that sort of use case, but it all happens within Workplace. If you compare this to some of the third-party tools such as Zoom, BlueJeans, or Skype, those work with more kind of traditional infrastructure. So not only is it good for those tools are good for employee collaboration within the same organization, but also they help with employees talking to outside outside vendors or customers or just in general non-employees, right? So they can either invite non-users or they can provide a phone number for people using traditional telephony systems to dial in. Those are much more full-featured. And it comes again with that. It comes with a lot of features, but sometimes additional complexity. The audio and video conferencing features that Victoria highlighted, those are great baselines just if you want to do a quick call and you need to move away from kind of typed chat.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you. So we do have another question. So this is kind of a spin-off on who owns my content and data. So we have someone wondering, will I get any advertisements on Workplace?
You will not. So we've described earlier, Workplace and Facebook are completely separate. You don't need to have Facebook or Workplace to have one or the other, and they do not talk or tie into each other. As far as the advertisements, that's not going to be in Workplace since you would manage and own and administer your own data. as a workplace customer.
Perfect. Thank you, Victoria. So we do have another question here, and this is from a managerial perspective. So how have you seen managers using Workplace to connect with remote employees?
I could start this one. One way that I'm seeing right now, and what we were describing earlier, the different groups within Workplace, they are creating either one-on-one groups, manager to employee, or team groups, with the manager being the admin of the group. They're using this to either upload any content that they would have, any project work, but it's allowing a space where everybody can come together, whether, again, if it is a one-on-one meeting or group meeting within these groups. So it's allowing more almost FaceTime and that real-time engagement that you would normally get face-to-face in an office setting right here in the Workplace platform.
Thanks, Victoria. And I can add a little bit from my experience as well and what we're seeing here on the Facebook side. So I have a one-on-one group with my manager. And what we do is that we use that group to post, keep track of weekly updates, what's been going on the partner side and on the sales side. So this is just between myself and her. And everything is kind of contextualized. We can go back and see and track the progress of certain topics of how they've evolved. So we're able to, and this is not even due to the pandemic now, but she's based in London. I'm based here in Menlo Park. For us, we're remote, but we're able to stay connected. And that's at the manager and direct report level. What managers do is that they'll also encourage, broadly, they'll also encourage their teams to post updates to the team's public group. And what this allows is that this allows this to feed into the newsfeed aspect, the newsfeed feature of Facebook Workplace. And so other people who are beyond our own teams can know what we are working on, right? And this is how large organizations stay aligned, because of this passive awareness. I now know that, hey, we're launching these initiatives on the marketing side. I know that the sales team is working on these specific opportunities and they need help, with partners need help in these certain ways. And so this is a great way for me, being based out here, our product is headquartered out of London, to stay on top of all the developments while we are all remote.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so we do have another question here, and it's just regarding the mass communications feature. Can you prioritize certain content or highlight it, as a lot of information is in Workplace? How do you actually prioritize that content and make it available from the top level perspective?
Absolutely. I guess start with that one, have Jonathan fill in. So in Workplace, you do have a feature called Mark as Important. So any admins of the group, if there is a critical or crucial information that needs to hit every single employee's newsfeed or Workplace platform, there is an option to mark it as important. And so it'll stay at the top of that person's newsfeed for they have a set amount of days. I believe it's a week, a month, a couple of days, or you have an end date there. And it gives the employees options to mark that, yes, I have read this. So if there is critical information or anything you need to get out there, there is absolutely an option to make that more visible in Workplace to all the employees.
Okay.
And we actually saw that happen for Facebook as we shifted in early March over from kind of traditional in the office over to remote. Things were changing literally day by day, right, here in the Bay Area, California. And so our head of VP or head of people here, they were sending these posts as marked as important. So I'm so glad Victoria highlighted that. That was a real world example of high signal posts that that admins and moderators need to signify or designate as. That way you make sure folks are reading it, and it's a different notification setting as well. For other ones that are important and maybe a little bit maybe not as important as a kind of an office closure policy, we can have something we call pin post at the group level. And so this is a way that just the newsfeed, it's just a post that literally is stuck on the top of the newsfeed. It'll always appear there. Really helpful for onboarding if you want to just show all the links, and you can post each of these posts here, have their own separate URL that you can just create a nice way to aggregate and summarize a lot of the content that may be found in the group overall. So a lot of different ways, very flexible.
Great. And another example we've seen of that too is when we're setting up the workplace platform for customers, someone will create a wiki page. And so they'll pin that important post to the top of that page to all the links to their SharePoint or whatever their document repository system is to guide everybody within that group where to go to for those specific documents too. So there's a lot of different ways you can play with that feature.
Perfect. Thank you, Jonathan and Victoria. So we do have another question here. If a group becomes irrelevant or a project ends and you want to delete it, A, is that possible? And B, what happens to the content?
Yep, I can answer that one. So there are a few ways to handle it. Deleting, I think technically possible, but likely not a best practice, right? There's a lot of valuable information there. And so I think the better way, we have what we call an archive feature. And so this is archived so people cannot join it again. People cannot add new posts inside that group, but everything is just kind of time capsuled into it. So it still shows up in search results. I think you can set or change whether or not it does. But it's a good way to kind of deprecate and kind of funnel new activity into the groups that you like.
Okay, perfect. So we have another question. What integrations does Workplace provide? And is there only integrations that are paid applications? So wondering if there's any free apps that you can integrate within Workplace.
Yeah, I can start with this one. So there are two options when it comes to integrations with Workplace. They're going to have their native integrations, which would be anything from G Suite to OneDrive to Box. And then there's also custom integrations. And this is where partners like Line Zero would come in and help build anything custom. So let's say if you have a native tool, like an HRIS system or something, we're able to go ahead and, since Workplace is an open API platform, we are able to do a custom build of that integration. So as far as the free applications, whatever applications are in the directory are able to link directly and integrate with Workplace, but there's also the paid ones that would be coming from the custom development.
Perfect. Thank you, Victoria. So at the moment, I'm not seeing any more questions roll in. So maybe I'll just wait a minute or two. And with that, I'll just say thank you so much for joining today's webinar. We really hope you found the content useful and we got all your questions answered. If you do have any more pending questions or you would like to take advantage of any of those offers that we've put out, including the customized demo, the 48-hour or 7-day accelerated launch, or the workplace advisory and support services, please do feel free to reach out to engage@linezero.com, and we're more than happy to discuss those offers or just have a general chat regarding Workplace and what we can do for your organization. As well, if you are interested in continuing on this remote work series, we do have an upcoming webinar on May 7th entitled Take Control of Your Stress and Improve Your Emotional Fitness. That is with someone named Kelsey Corey, who is an expert in the field. We're more than happy to kind of move through health and wellness topic that we've touched on lightly here today. So again, thank you so much for everyone for joining. Oh, and sorry, actually, before I log off here, we actually just got one more question. How about MS Teams? So I'm assuming that's speaking to the integrations, whether that can work itself into Workplace or maybe from a comparative feature we can discuss as well. Sorry.
Yeah, I can discuss this. We get this question a lot. How does this compare to Teams and how do we compare to Slack? And so I think would be very helpful is what Workplace is not. Workplace is not a productivity platform, right? We don't have, besides the lightweight kind of content creation for knowledge management, we don't create PowerPoints or Microsoft Word or have spreadsheets. That's not what the tool is kind of built. Those are productivity tools. We're more of a system of engagement. So once those deliverables are actually done, how do we connect and get other folks in the organization to know about the existence of those, to discuss them, et cetera. So that's the high level. What we see here, if anybody's experience with Teams and with Slack, some of the mass communication or org-wide communication pain points, those are not really addressed by those tools, and those tools are not designed to address those, right? But if you're looking at a town hall, if you're looking for a group that everybody can know what's going on, there really hasn't really been a tool to do that, and why so many organizations have kind of flipped to and kind of relied on email to do those kind of organization-wide announcements. And so Workplace is a great way, a very modern way to kind of fill that gap. We think it's very important if you want to communicate with folks, they need to be connected on the platform. And not only do they need to be connected on the platform, they need to engage, they need to adopt and engage with the platform. And that's where we see the intuitiveness, the kind of the consumer DNA, all the user experience, all the user interface experience that we've seen on Facebook, on Instagram, that we've been able to bake into Workplace. We're able to provide all that to get the high adoption, to get the high engagement, to ultimately connect employees. And again, ultimately that keeps employees aligned to the mission, and then allows companies to drive change, right? And so this is where we kind of see the differences between Workplace and with Teams and Slack. So we actually see a lot of customers use them both in place. So you work with the people you know in Teams, do the deliverables, and discuss the work that you actually do in Workplace. And then Slack, obviously very strong in DevOps use cases.
Exactly. And the way we use it too, and the way I've always heard people describe it, Workplace is going to be the heart, the soul, the pulse of your organization. It's where the sense of community is in that middle layer of any organization. And again, with Microsoft Teams, because we're a big Microsoft shop, we use it all the time, every day. That's just productivity. That's where the work gets done, but the entire family and the team comes together in Workplace. But it's a great question. Actually, a lot of people ask that. So.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jonathan and Victoria. So I think that's it for questions at the moment. Just one more follow-up in regards to MS Teams, actually. Are you able to record on Teams and put that recording on Workplace?
You can, yes.
Okay. Victoria would do better on that.
They're not integrated directly to where it can be one button, hit all, and all goes live, but you are able to do both. Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so I'll just make a last call for questions here. I'm not seeing any roll in. So again, I would just like to thank everybody for joining the webinar today entitled Managing Remote Work for COVID-19 and afterwards. Again, if you are interested in any of the offers or you'd like to have a chat with either Jonathan or Victoria, please do feel free to reach out to engage@linezero.com, and we're more than happy to continue that discussion and conversation. So with that, we'll say thank you so much for joining today and have a great rest of the week.
Thanks, everyone.
Everybody.